Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 26th of November, comes to you from London. And we see the dollar holding on to its strength there, so no real change since yesterday. And of course, that means that the euro weakness still sitting there as well. Euro just dropping lower this morning, but we see here just teaching along the bottom these downside targets. Japanese yen, we're seeing the dollar actually looking stronger here as well, and so that's the dollar gaining some ground there, and sterling also pushing higher too, so much stronger. And against the pound, sterling actually just falling a little bit against the euro this morning, and against the Swiss franc, we see sterling just holding on to its gains there. So still holding on with the general election coming in the UK. Markets actually taking that in a stride. Bitcoin actually just recovering a little bit this morning, but still just bearish below the cloud on that short-term chart, the lagging line below the cloud there. If we look at the S&P 500 index, we see here that we're higher. Again, we were up 0.75% last night. The Nasdaq higher as well, and the Dow Jones higher. So we're seeing markets just generally pushing higher. Hopes for a trade deal helping there, and we see the Russell 2000 index having a big day yesterday. We see that candle there, so pushing higher there. Not yet making new highs, of course, but we're getting closer all the time. Futures are flat this morning, suggest that the US market will open flat, and if we look at the UK market, it's down very slightly this morning, so flat as well. Midcaps are up a quarter of a percent, so they're looking stronger, and the DAX in Germany also just a bit weaker, and CAC Quarante just down a bit as well, giving up some of yesterday's gains. Japan was up 0.2%, so looking stronger there. The Hang Seng down 0.29% after surging the day before on those election results, and Chinese market fairly flat as well. So we're seeing a bit of a just markets just pausing for breath. We're seeing the same in India, flat there as well, and the Aussie market was actually up 0.8%, having had a bad session the day before. Brent crude looking stronger at the moment, sitting at $63.75. WTI is down very slightly, sitting at $58. US NatGas having fallen back to $2.47. Quite a big dive there yesterday, so which puts us back into bearish territory there. Looking at gold, we're sitting at $14.57. No real significant changes there, and silver, much the same picture. US 10-year yields on the 10-year Treasury yield sitting at 1.74%, just struggling to hold on to the bullish trend short term, and German bond prices just rising slightly on those falling yields, so quite interesting there. This data all coming from Thomson Reuters Icon, or if you're using Metastock Zenith, coming from Metastock Zenith. Looking here now at the Yahoo data, we see the world indices there, mostly green. We see a little bit of red in Europe this morning, and Asia was mixed, so quite useful there. Looking at the Dow, here we see United Healthcare Group with the best performer up 2%, and Exxon Mobil actually were the worst performer, down 0.6%. That trend down against the Dow continuing there, so quite worrying. Looking at the Nasdaq, the best performer in the Nasdaq was Insight Corporation, up 5.9%. And we can see here that is actually looking like quite a good recovery there. On the downside, we had Comcast Group down 3%, so quite significant falls there, and just starting to fall through on the medium trend, although the relative trend looks like it's holding up. The Aussie market, the best performer in the Aussie market, so Caltex Australia up 13%, Bravura Solutions also up 12%, so we are seeing some quite big performances there. On the downside, we had Linus Corporation. They were down 3.5%, and that chart just not looking at all good there, just breaking down. In India, in the Nifty 50, we have here the best performer was Hindalco. Their industries, they're up 4%, but that's not enough really to change the look of that chart. On the downside, we had Z Entertainment down 7%, and that chart continues to look pretty bad there. In Europe now, we look at the FTSE 100 first of all. Looking to the FTSE 100, the best performer is Fresnel Group. They're 2.8% higher. CRH Ocado up nearly 2%. So we are seeing some quite big performances still, even though the market's flat. Compass Group down 5% this morning, not a good look there. And NMC also down 2.5%, and that chart not looking great either. In the 250, the best performer this morning is the Restaurant Group. They're up 5.5%. On the downside, we've got Greencore Group down 5.8%, although the chart still looks pretty good. And now looking to Europe, we've got CRH is the best performer in Europe. They're just pushing higher all the time. That chart looking really stellar, outperforming the Dow Jones by 20% this year. On the downside this morning in Europe, we've got Iberdrola. They're down 0.83%. And we see some of the banks there also falling lower. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.